Morning guys. I thought today I'd talk about Collagraph prints because I get often asked the sort of basic question at print fairs as to what is a Collagraph, and I usually use these prints to kind of explain the process, what you're trying to do, how it works, show some plates, and look at the sort of way I've put these prints together. So you can see the kind of see what's involved really, and the variety of marks and effects and variations in the print that you can get through Collagraphs. These are my Zen prints, as I call them. They're a collection of series of work that I've been doing over the last, I think, 4 years now. They've been very popular. They're quite unusual because of the format, I suppose, the long kind of format. The reason I kind of went for this format is quite accidental actually. It's because I had some offcuts of paper in this sort of format from another project, and it's really nice kind of thick printmaking paper, and I thought, you know what, I can't throw these away, so let's kind of use that as something that I can work with and design some prints that fit this format. So Collagraph printmaking, it's a printmaking method. It's got a lot in common with both the etching and intaglio style printmaking, but also it can work as a relief print as well, like lino prints, etc. The principles are really straightforward. So you basically make a printing plate out of mount board. You introduce variations into the surface of the plate, so you can either cut down into the mount board, peel the top layer off, that exposes like a rougher texture. Rougher texture holds more ink, so you're going to get a darker mark in your print. Or you can build up the plate sort of by sticking different materials on. So anything with a texture, sort of textured papers, sandpaper I use a lot, different tapes, gels, cements, decorative paper, wallpapers, lots of, myriad possibilities basically. But anything you do to the surface of the plate will then hold ink in a slightly different way, and then when you print it, it will result in a different type of mark in your finished print. So I'll use the Zen prints as an example. This is one of the plates that I've used for the print. In fact, you can see the print and the plate together here. So as you can see, this is printed from this plate like this. So I make this plate out of a piece of mount board, and then on the surface of the plate, if you can see that, there are sections peeled away off the surface with a rougher texture. There are pieces of sandpaper in different grades, holds more ink, again you'll get a rougher mark. There are cuts scored into the surface of the plate, so they will hold a little bit of ink and they'll give you lines in your print. There are tapes, that's a thin sort of masking tape. Again, when you ink it and wipe it back, the ink will just catch in the edges of the tape, and that will give you lines in your print. There is this aluminium tape that is great stuff because it kind of preserves the texture that's underneath. It's really thin self-adhesive aluminium tape, but it's quite shiny. So when you ink it and wipe it back, most of the ink will wipe off and you'll get a lighter tone in your finished print. So you can see some of these effects. Let's get this the right way around. So if I can hold that properly. So for example, this tape here, where ink is catching in the edges, you can see it's created this sort of line, these lines here, and a slight textured effect. The shiny bit here, where most of the ink's wiped off, you can see there's a lighter tone in the finished print. Here, there's like this rough area of exposed sort of the underlayer of the mount board. That gives you a nice sort of dark set of marks in your print. And basically that's the technique. After that, it's all about your sort of, what you're trying to do and your creativity to produce different prints using different materials on your plate. So with this print, you can see there's various colors in the print. and I've used 3 different techniques for introducing colour into when I've inked the plate. So you take the plate and then you have to put ink onto it. What I've done, how I've done it for this print is in some of the areas I've rubbed in some red colour into some of these rougher areas and then kind of wiped that back. So that red sort of stays there as almost like an underlayer that I'm trying to get to come through in the finished print. You can see ultimately it's these kind of areas here and here. Then as a second stage, this is not printed yet, it's all printed in one go. So there's some red on the plate. After that, I've covered the surface of the plate in an orange colour. So that's mixed with a cadmium red and some cadmium yellow. And then you wipe that back. I've got another video where you can see what I'm doing in terms of wiping the plates. So the idea is when you're wiping, you're forcing the ink down into the sort of marks and grooves in the plate, but you're leaving only a very thin layer across the surface of the plate. And depending on the material, like I was saying, the shiny bits, most of the ink will wipe off that, so you'll get a correspondingly lighter mark in your finished print. So first of all, red with a brush, then orange with the spread over white back, and then finally, you can see in the print, there's this kind of very light mint colour. So what I've done with that is mixed a mint colour, but mixed it very transparently with a lot of extender in the ink. And then I've applied that with a roller very, very gently. So you just roll that over the surface of the plate, and it just catches on some of the sort of higher areas of the plate. That part, it's a little bit accidental. It'll catch on some areas and it won't catch on other areas. So you're trying to do it fairly evenly so there's not any sort of major differences. But because the colour is mixed so thinly, it's a complement, I suppose, to the other colours in there. It doesn't overpower them and it lets them come through, but it just adds another little bit of variation into the print. So once you've inked the plate with those, in this case with those 3 effects, I'm going to put that on my press, my printing press, and then I'll take a piece of dampened or softened paper. I'll lay that on top carefully and sort of trying to make sure it's lined up. And then you'll roll it through the press, so you're applying pressure to the back of the paper, which forces the paper down onto the plate. And the idea is that by forcing the paper down onto the plate, the paper's picking up all the ink from all the little sort of grooves and nooks and sort of textures on your plate, and those are what will create the print on your paper. So you can see with this one, it's gone through the press like this. I'm going to take it off, and then all the ink, the way I've inked it, the way I've coloured it, and all the textures and marks in the surface of the plate will produce this print. Now I'll attach to this video a clip of one of these coming off the press, so you can see that. In action. One other thing I wanted to quickly mention, because it's quite interesting if you haven't seen this before, is when you put these through the press and the pressure is applied, a lot of pressure is applied to the back of the paper to push it down onto the plate. What you end up with this is the print, on the back of the print, hopefully you can see that, is this kind of embossing effect. So it's the actual sort of effect of the paper being really pushed down onto the plate. So you can even see some of the sort of quite subtle patterns that were in the plate coming through as a result of that pressure, and particularly around the edges of the plate. And that's how you can really always tell a handmade print from a reproduction. So if you've got a inkjet or digital giclée reproduction, which might look absolutely fabulous, by the way, then it's a flat process. So if you look at the back of the print, there's nothing there. It's completely flat. Whereas handmade, there's been some things going on to create that sort of that print. There's pressure applied to it in order to pick up the ink, transfer the ink from the plate to the print. So in terms of the design, just to explain my thinking on that. A lot of my work, as you've seen, is there's data, there's research, there's spaces or maps or geographies, things like that. Great. This is not what this series is about. Really, I did these with the intention of trying to create a set of prints where there was a clear sort of harmony of shape and colour. So the colour scheme is meant to, there's variation, there's depth, but ultimately the sort of oranges, reds with that accent of mint is supposed to provide a kind of harmonious effect in the print. And the actual design, so this one is all about the diagonals. So I've used combinations of diagonal shapes, diagonal lines at different angles, in different materials and textures, so they hold ink in different ways. But overall, to try and get something that is well balanced. You know, there's not one clear bit of the print, I don't think, that is really standing out. It's trying to achieve an overall harmony. So one of my friends said, "Oh, why don't you call them Zen prints?" And I thought, yeah, okay, that's pretty cool. So I did the diagonals, and I also did the one I showed earlier, which is more with vertical and horizontal lines. And then what I added in is just some circular shapes which affect the tones of the colours. And I did those across the two prints. And the idea is that those circular shapes sort of join up the two prints in the series, really, even though they're dominated by diagonals and horizontal verticals. The circular shapes in there just give them a little bit of continuity, I suppose, across the series of the prints. That was my thinking anyway. Interested in your thoughts and comments on that. Till now, I have been presenting these using sort of wooden magnetic hangers. So they hang like sort of banners like that, which I always liked, and it's quite kind of effective. But recently I've tried framing, so this is an example. If I hold it the right way up even. So I think actually these look pretty good in the sort of oak effect frames. I've put a cream mount around them, and hopefully there's not too many reflections there. But yeah, it's a different way of presenting. I think from now on I'll go down the framing route with these. So that's the story of the Zen prints. I hope that's interesting. As ever, really welcome any comments or feedback. Drop me some comments under this post, and let's chat. Okay, thanks. Bye.